Austria, and welcome to the Tyrolean Alps, and specifically the Olympia World on the edge of Innsbruck city centre. Last night, Jessie Pilz was crowned world champion in the women's lead in front of her home crowd. Today, 26 men begin their journey towards achieving the same thing. I'm Charlie Bosco, Matt Groom alongside me, and Matt, I've just about recovered from the tension of last night, hoping for more of the same today.
Yeah, exactly. I recommend anyone who didn't see last night's live stream to go back onto YouTube and check it out, because it was an incredible final. Came down to the last, literally to the wire, Janja versus Jessie, and seconds in it, 11 seconds separated that win. So an incredible finish to an incredible final, and can't wait for tonight and this afternoon. It's going to be good. 26 men through to today's semi-final. We had no big ties coming through. Austria got 3 climbers into the semi-final, hoping to replicate Jessie's achievement of last night. Jakob Schubert, perhaps the most notable name of those 3, multiple World Cup winner, climbing in front of his home crowd. Grew up here in Innsbruck, and there he is, warming up behind the wall. He will climb 10th. Fell low on one of the qualifying routes, but luckily had done so well on the other qualifying route that he made it through to the semi-finals. Jakub Konečný of the Czech Republic. His compatriot Adam Ondra will be the penultimate climber out, the reigning world champion from 2016 and the world champion from 2014. Domen Skofic of Slovenia will be the final climber out. We had 2 qualifying groups in this World Championship lead competition, and that means that we can't count back to qualifying results. Last night we saw in the women's final that came down to time on the final route between Jessie Pilz and Janja Garnbret. I've been told that the official difference in time between the 2 was just 7 seconds. So something to be aware of often in IFSC competitions, particularly in the lead. We count back to the previous round. We can't do that to the qualifiers here because there were 2 groups used climbing on 2 different routes. There we can see the angle of the wall overhanging throughout. It's 15 meters high and it is 12 meters wide, and the men's route for the semi-final begins on the bottom right and snakes up, finishes just left of center, just to the left of that black streak, right where the Walltopia sign is. 6 minutes for each athlete to attempt the route. They've already had their group observation where they come out, all 26 of them, and study the route and compare notes should they wish. And they'll also have 40 seconds before they climb to study the route again individually. And here is our start list. So the Austrian crowd will see one of their own out first, Georg Palmer. Fede Samoilov will be out second, and then the first of the 2 Narasaki brothers, Meichi. You can see there, climbing 17th will be Tamoa, Meichi's brother. Alexander Megos recently won his first World Cup. He'll be out 7th to last. And then it was a brilliant performance from the 2 American climbers, Rudolf Ruana and Sean Bailey. And they'll be finished by, the semi-final will be finished by an incredibly strong set of 3 climbers, Stefano Gasolfi, Adam Ondra and Domen Skofic. Yeah, very much looking forward to seeing those guys come out. Of course, we're sort of in the middle of the World Cup circuit at the moment. This comes before the China round. So athletes peaking around about this time. And we've seen some incredible performances throughout the World Cup, all over the world. And now it's come back to Austria, back to Innsbruck.
They call this city the climbers' paradise. It certainly is this week. Wall-to-wall, world-class climbing action inside the Olympia World. When you go outside, the sun is shining. The crags are looking spectacular. And quite a few people I've spoken to who've come over here for the week are combining watching the world's best climbers and getting in on the action themselves, climbing on the crags of Tyrol. Georg Palmer makes his way out onto the Innsbruck stage. We want the top 8 to go through to the final this evening, and there's 26 men attempting to get there. Georg Palmer is the first one out. You can see there, qualified in joint 25th in the qualifying round, the 21-year-old. Already been in a World Cup semi-final in 2018.
Now this starting move here, pulling off the ground, we were talking to the route setters earlier. Apparently there's at least 3 ways to do this move. So there's a traditional mantle and many other options. So athletes shouldn't have any problem getting off the ground, as he doesn't, and he pulls onto the first
those big red volumes. A little bit more positive than they look from here, especially that second one that his right hand's on now. So a little bit campusy, but not too difficult, just to get the athletes warmed up and ready for this route. And it is a brutal one, this route, Charlie. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, it's a very varied route. We're about to, excuse me, it's a very varied route. They're particularly dynamic section around the middle, and then it gets quite technical, a lot of body retention and body tension, and slightly awkward positions to hold as they enter the head wall, and then it just gets pretty bouldery and burly, which really, after 45 moves on a lead route, is the last thing you want to see.
Little jump coming up here. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. And there's a few ways you can do it. You can go into that undercling. You can see underneath the yellow volume. You could wrap your hand all the way up left. So it'll be interesting to see as this competition develops the different methods. He's preparing himself into the undercling.
Yeah, there's also the option to pinch that hold, and then also the one that's just by Georg's left elbow right now, but he went for the undercling and looked pretty solid. We've seen it as a feature on quite a few of the routes here at the World Championship, that a move might not be especially difficult, but it just puts the climber on edge, makes them take a risk. And anytime you jump like that on a route, there is a risk, but Georg Palmer executed it excellently. Carry on through. Got a total of 47 handholds on this route. Remember, in lead climbing, it's not like bouldering where you have to match the top hold. It's about clipping that last quick draw. That's how you register a top. And Georg is at hold 19 out of 47, just to give you some idea of where he is in the grand scheme of the route. And he's got just over 4 minutes left, so climbing pretty quickly. Time almost certainly not going to be an issue if he can maintain this pace.
Bad feet characterize this section of the route. Those volcanoes we can see are not very good. And of course, shiny on the outside, so not a lot of grip going on. And that cross route is not easy, quite hard to read. You can see how much pressure he's having to put onto the wall here, really using that core to hold him in. Bumps up with the right-hand side. Seem to control that pretty well.
Yeah, it's a very, very physical section that. Your body is locked in close to the wall, and all the force is going through that left arm as you move your right arm through. But Georg Palmer's putting up a very good fight early on in this semi-final. First of 26 men, aiming to be one of 8 through to the final.
Climbing quicker now, you can see the pump starting to set in. He's going to want to go as high as possible.
Slapped up with the left hand and fell around hole 31-32. Good start from Georg Palmer, and showing that the route can be climbed pretty quickly. He was pulling onto the head wall with just under half his time, half his 6 minutes remaining. This was the jump lower down. Made the World Championship semi-final in Paris back in 2016, and already a lead World Cup semi-finalist in 2018, and that's a very strong early performance.
Yeah, not a lot of places to rest on this route. He didn't really hang around, as you said, time-wise for a long time, so perhaps a battle of pump over anything else. Power endurance for some of these moves.
Fedor Samoilov will be the next climber out, the young Ukrainian. He's getting a big intro from the MC. Just one lead World Cup semi-final for him so far in 2018. His last time out in Arco, finished 26th there. Been in lead World Cup finals before, most notably in Xiamen last year and Vila in 2017 as well, when he picked up a bronze medal.
There aren't many better entrances into an arena other than that, especially as a young athlete coming into your World Championship semi-finals through that Red Bull logoed entrance.
Yeah, we walked onto the stage earlier via that to have a look at the route, and I got a shot of adrenaline.
It felt good, didn't it?
Yeah, the arena was empty. It was just someone sweeping the floor, but it's still very exciting.
Had an overwhelming desire to say, you know, hello, Innsbruck 2018, but there was no one there.
So it just echoed around
the
exactly.
No one paid me any attention.
That was tragic. Here goes Fedor. It's pretty simple first section, this, more for aesthetics than anything. It's just a very pleasing on the eye, this lower section. Welcome to those of you just joining us here in Innsbruck. Charlie Bosco, Matt Groom, live from the Olympia World Men's Lead Semi-Final. Hashtag IFSC WCH on Twitter if you want to get in touch.
Awkward looking clip there, trying to cross through with the left. Sort of thought of doing it another way, went up a bit, dropped, went up again, but got it sorted now as we come up to this jump section. Makes the clip before the jump, which is sensible. No hesitation there, made it nicely. Again, using that undercling method, which I think is the one we're going to see most of. It's the most obvious way through that section.
Yeah, I have to say the pinch looks harder from what we saw when we were up close to the wall and chatting to the route setters. You can see the pinch you might potentially use. It's just by Federer's underneath his left foot right now. But as you say, I think we will see that jumping into the undercling a lot more than the pinch. 4.5 minutes remaining for Federer, and he cuts loose. The feet swing out left, and we lose him going up to that first volcano. It's a disappointing result from him. 2017 was an excellent year for the young Ukrainian. 2018 hasn't quite been the same. He's delighted to make it through to the semi-finals, but he'd be disappointed with that. See him shaking his head. Let's have another look. This was the undercling. For sure, that looks the easier method. That's what he's going for. Perfect timing. So this was where we lost him.
Yeah, check out the right hand. It's the adjustment he makes there that hasn't quite set him. That left hand isn't really good enough to be doing that kind of an adjustment with the right, especially if you're swinging out left as you do it. Shake of the head from his coach there. He's going to be disappointed, but...
Yeah, he's the only Ukrainian in the semi-final today, so... Disappointing one for Federer. Here comes Meichi Narasaki, recently crowned Youth World Champion in Moscow back in August. Incredibly strong pair of climbers, Meichi and his brother Tomoa, the World Champion for 2016 in bouldering. Believe it or not, Meichi is actually the younger of the two brothers. When you see them together, it's hard to believe. He's much taller than his brother. Quite different climbers in terms of style, not just physical size. But Meichi really hitting his straps in the past couple of seasons.
Climbing really quickly through his bottom section, no hesitation, powering through up to the jump. Straight into the jump, he's really motoring.
Yeah, there was... when he first started out, Meichi Narasaki, he was considered brother of Tomoa, but in 2017, it was really the other way around. Meichi's looked stronger and stronger as time goes by. In 2017 at the Youth World Championships right here in Innsbruck, he won the male juniors combined. As I just mentioned, in Moscow, he won the male junior lead about a month or so ago. And already a World Cup podiumist in senior bouldering. So a real all-rounder. Would you bet against both of them make it into the combined final next Sunday?
We saw a little bit of a hesitation with that clip just then, and we talked last night about fractions of time that do make a big difference. Just little bits of energy lost, little tiny mistakes do make a big difference higher up on the route when that pump sets in. You see him now shaking out, so very quick bottom section. He's now just pausing a little bit in this very body tension specific part of the route, up to the good crimp but bad feet section. That left hand is pretty good. Very insecure feet.
So Meichi approaching a high point. Currently Georg Palmer, who was the first climber out, holds that high point, 31 plus. So Meichi's currently got his right hand on the hold 31. Ooh, and it almost slipped. Now he's set a high point of 32, and every move from here on just pushes the high point further out. He hasn't quite got his feet sorted though. He's looked uncomfortable in this position for the last 10-15 seconds. Done well to get himself recovered there, re-find a bit of composure. Jumps up, slaps towards hold 35 with his left hand. That'll be a 34 or 34 plus, depending on how the judges saw it for him. So Meiichi Narasaki is our early leader. Thomas Yuan of France, the next climber to try this route. There was the jump. He jumped so far, he's so tall, he ended up in the position he needed to be in. There was no pull-up required.
Yeah, no hesitation before the jump either. Now check the foot placement on this, because that half moon shape doesn't really have anything on it to stand on. So you can see there, very slopey. This is when he readjusted, having a little think about it. Went up to that crimp, into that pinch, and he brought his left foot through. But there's nothing really to push off when he's making that move. There's nothing for that left toe to hold him into the wall. So perhaps not the best method through that section.
Yeah, I think another problem he would have had as well, had he latched that whole 35, his feet would almost certainly then have cut loose and swung underneath him, and that whole 35 is not good enough to hold a big swing. So I think if you can engineer a way of doing that move statically, it's definitely going to be the way to go. But Meiichi Narasaki leading the way, has been given 34 plus.
Thomas Jonas on the wall now, easily pulling onto this, as Charlie said earlier, a very pretty section of the wall. Not difficult, just looks good.
See there on the scores on the left, we want 8 men through. As the semi-final progresses and we've had more than 8 climbers out, the top 8 or those potentially qualified for the final will appear in red on those graphics, just so you know what the red squares denote right now. All 3 are red. We had a big tie in the women's semi-final yesterday, ended up taking 10 women through to the final. Thomas Yuan opts for a completely different method. Facing out. Crowd enjoyed that one.
Almost seemed a bit of a shock that he ended up that way around that time. He sort of went up and almost turned in the air to get that move, but and now just struggling a little bit to lock off to make that clip.
He's a great climber to watch, Thomas Yuan. Gives the route absolutely everything. A friend of mine who regularly watches the IFSC said he won't die wondering, Thomas Yuan. He leaves nothing on the wall, 100% effort, commitment. He's into the volcanoes. Seems to be relishing this powerful section. Could do with finding a bit of efficiency. He's doing these moves in quite a powerful way. And he's actually got his hands, so the wrong way around, but not the way the route setters envisaged it. So they thought that he'd have his right hand with his lefties, cross through with his left to where his right hand is, and that would free the right hand up to then go right again. I hope that makes sense. It did in my head.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Charlie, because it's the thing is that cross-through move isn't that obvious looking at it from the ground. It's very easy to miss it because logically you would go left-right through that bit. But it's this next section that might mess him up. Now he's done that.
Now he's figured it out. That's how you do it. You get the left hand into that little pocket and that frees the right hand up. He's found a way now. Thomas Yuan, let's hold at 26. You can see the high point that Meiichi Narasaki got to. He was slapping for that big blue volume towards the top left of your screen. A lot of body tension required here, a lot of compression.
It's a bit like watching a muscle car, this. He's just giving it everything on the gas. Whereas Meiichi was a very calm, very composed, very collected. Now he's having to work.
Yeah, the feet just slipped there for Thomas Yuan. He seems to have got himself back on track. A bit like Meiichi Narasaki, though. He just can't find a way of getting comfortable in this position. Tries to cross through and just runs out of energy around that whole 32-33 mark. Really good effort from him. He was kind of forcing the route into submission at times. It's an unusual way to do that jump. The crowd enjoyed it.
Yeah, you can see that big foot slip, that left hand almost going. That takes so much energy to readjust on that, especially when you're about to go up for a move. You have to kind of press reset on your whole body. Not easy to do. And he tries to cross through here with the right hand. just wasn't really near it. You can see there, one of the lovely features of this wall is how close the coaches are allowed to get to the climbers. They're right at the front of this arena, and the main audience behind the coaches, so we get a wonderful reaction from them. You can imagine. I mean, I'm nervous watching some of these guys sometimes, but imagine coaching them day in, day out, and then watching them up on that wall.
Yeah, I think if you watch the replay of Jesse Piltz last night, you see the coach's reaction. Absolutely hilarious, but just raw emotion. So here's Hannes Puman of Sweden, getting ready to climb. Now, if you've been looking at social media over the past few days, you'll know that there was something of a controversy in the men's qualifying round. Both Sean McColl and Romain de Grange got lower scores than they might initially have got when you saw them on the live stream. Just so you know, rule 6.99 part 5 of the IFSC rulebook says that the attempt of a competitor on a route shall be considered unsuccessful if the competitor uses any advertising or informational placard affixed to the wall or any part of such material. And on Friday, on the men's qualifying round, the judges has cause to look at the attempts of 3 climbers, and having looked at multiple video angles, they concluded that 2 climbers, Romain de Grange and Sean McColl, had used the advertising sign, and although Adam Ondra, the 3rd climber, had touched it, they could see no proof that he had used it. Touching the sign is not expressly forbidden, but using it is. So there's been a few opinions put around on social media about that.
Yeah, it's always disappointing when you see any athletes marked down for an infringement rather than an athletic slip or a foot pop or something to do with them, but the judge is very clear on their decision with that one.
It's a difficult job. You can have your own opinions. As we watch Hannes Puman execute the jump, you can have your own opinions on the rules and think that the rules could or should be different, but they are the rules, and the judges have got a job to do and a judgment to make, and that's the judgment they made. So definitely can't help but feel a bit sorry for Romain de Grange and Sean McColl. But remember, of course, it does mean that 2 climbers get to be in the semi-final instead who wouldn't otherwise have been. So, but yeah, you can't help but feel slightly sorry for them. Anyway, enough of the controversy and more of the action. Here is Hannes Puman.
Yeah, Hannes looking very, very strong at the moment. Very physical, and he had the strength to adjust that right hand on that move. You can see there from that close-up. Not only is it a bad hold, it's a bad hold on an overhang, so it becomes about a triply hard bad hold. This cross-through method here now, you can see him eyeing up that left. Oh, using every bit of core strength he's got to make that stick. Grimacing now as he comes through to make that clip beneath him. One more to make, of course.
He was 15th in the World Championships in 2016 in Paris. Hannes Puman looking to better that. He's already a World Cup finalist. Finalist in Arco in 2017. Pretty solid through this section. The key here seems to be finding a way to use your feet and making the decision quickly and efficiently. But he went up 3 times to that move. It'd be interesting to see a replay. Perhaps there might have been a different method it was possible to find.
Yeah, to me it was a foot positioning issue. He just didn't have his left foot quite high enough to make that reach through. He was inches off the top of it. But you do get the feeling, I mean, that it's not exactly a jug on that left hand he was going for. So even if he'd stick it, if he's in the wrong position foot-wise, you're not going to do a lot with that hold.
That was where we lost Hannes Puman, trying to readjust. He went, as I say, 3 times up, and you saw when he came down, immediate frustration. I wonder if he, kicking himself slightly, that instead of looking for a new method, he kept trying that method.
Yeah, it's hard. We've talked about this before, but the decisions the athletes make on the wall is key, and it is difficult to do it, especially when you're in the heat of the moment. The adrenaline's there, you're getting tired. To make a rational decision to do a new method is very difficult. And it's one of the reasons we see some of our more experienced competitors just adjusting what they think on the wall. Of course, sometimes you just got to slap for it as well, hope for the best. So Shuta Tanaka now. Second Japanese athlete we've seen out this afternoon. Mantling, almost pressing his body onto that first section. Slightly different from how others have done it.
Yeah, the route setters were saying this. They've found 3 ways of starting the route.
Yeah, well, that was certainly a bit different from what we've seen, but he's underway now onto that first big red volume. And I said earlier, they are better than they look on here. It's more of an aesthetic feature. And we've seen some wonderful looking routes this World Championships. Last night's women's finals, that Tetris start just looks stunning. It made you want to climb it. And same with this route. I want to go and jump on those red holes. They look fantastic.
Shuta Tanaka, although he's climbing relatively early in this semi-final, of course the competitors going in reverse order to how they qualified, so theoretically the strongest climbers coming out last. Shuta Tanaka is climbing 6th, but already 2 senior lead World Cup finals for him this season, Chamonix and Arco, so don't be fooled by the fact he's 6th out. He's made half of the lead World Cup finals in 2018 from the 4 World Cups we've had. Can absolutely take a place in the final this evening. 7 p.m. the final, live from the Olympia World.
It's a good angle that you can really see that heel hook with the toe pressed against the wall that allows, or has allowed some athletes to make that clip. Shooter just deciding on a slightly different method, going slightly higher. Now that left heel for the big rock over. Now the right heel getting set, and that is a brilliant angle to see just how steep this route is.
Yeah, it's quite deceptive. I think it's because of the color of the wall. It doesn't look especially steep on the lower section, but it's overhanging throughout. 10 degrees overhanging is the least steep section, and Shuta Tanaka is currently on the middle panel of 5, which is the very steepest part. And he's read it right, pops up with the right hand. We saw Thomas Yuan get himself into a comfortable position where he had his right hand over to the right and his left hand where Shuta's right hand is. The problem is he then couldn't move. This was a position, I think this is a position that Thomas Yuan got into. It is. So it's comfortable to stay there, but it makes progressing more difficult. It initially looked like Shuta had read it perfectly. Thomas Yuan found a way through it. Shuta now needs to do the same.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit more thinking if you do it this way. You can see both those athletes pausing. Shuta now just taking a shake out. Encouragement perhaps to himself there.
Still only 18 years old, Shuta Tanaka. One of many extraordinarily talented Japanese all-rounders.
Slight knee bar on the left, just a little rest. And you see there, his left foot went on top of that volcano hold. There's no texture up there, only inside it. You can see he just kind of went for it because it's the natural place to go, but didn't give him any help at all, had to readjust.
So this section he's entering now, it's looked to be absolutely critical. You've got to find a way through it, but you've got to find a way through it very, very efficiently. Seen a couple of climbers moving their feet around repeatedly, not sure what to do with them. Shuta Tanaka stabs out left. His body was just too far over to the right. Center of gravity shifted over to the left. He just couldn't hold the position. Just caught a glimpse there of his compatriot, Kokoro Fuji. Didn't make the lead semi-finals behind the Japanese coaching team. This is how he started.
Yeah, initially looked a bit uncomfortable with that move. You can see that right foot only just making it work, so a little bit awkward early on. And that jump again, facing towards the audience this time, swinging out. It looks comfortable doing that way, but the athletes we've seen who do turn in the air have a slightly problematic second section to that route. You have to turn your body back in, you have to lock the heel off. So from what we've seen so far, it's certainly easy to jump facing the wall just because of that next move. And there's the fall, slapping up with the left hand. Interesting route so far. We've got a very obvious crux section, but nice to see athletes climbing different bits differently.
Here is Alexei Rubtsov of Russia, crowned Boulder World Champion in 2009, 3 years after he started climbing. He used to compete at a pretty high level in judo as well. And he's immensely strong, Alexei Rubtsov. So a combination of immense strength and being a competitive judoist. I don't know if that's a word. Anyway, if Alexei Rubtsov says it's Tuesday, it is Tuesday. Visited his gym in Moscow about a month ago when I was there for the Youth World Championships. An impressive facility is built. He was saying to me that the climbing facilities in Moscow were so bad, he basically had to build his own so that he had somewhere good to train.
Yeah.
It is an impressive facility.
He's a very focused athlete. Climbing is sort of his world, training is his world, and yeah, it's always one of those ones with game face on 90% of the time. It does sometimes crack a smile, you do see it, but right now he's fully in the climbing zone. You can see his right hand just over the top of the rope there, just releases it, and into this jump.
No problem at all for Alexei's. Interesting enough, he just stayed looking up the whole way. As soon as he landed, didn't even need to look down to check where his feet were or check he was in the right position. Clearly felt very comfortable on that jump. Now slapping up with the right hand. Just got himself in a bit of a tricky position here. This is a powerful way of doing that move. Just for a split second looked as if he was ever so slightly panicked about what he was going to do with his feet. Got himself underway again now. We see him more in bouldering competitions. He's had more success in bouldering down the years, but he's aiming for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, trying to become more and more of an all-rounder. So here he is, making a pretty good job of it in lead World Championship semi-final. Onto the volcano hold. Had a question on social media actually about what is a volcano hold. Quite simply, it's a hold that looks like a volcano, like them.
This may just be me, but I do find it fascinating looking at the kind of shoes that the athletes, the kind of climbing shoes the athletes wear when they come out. A lot of them wearing what you'd consider to be bouldering-specific shoes. A little bit softer, more downturned. It just shows the kind of routes that they have to do at the moment in semi-finals and finals. Far more of a dynamic bouldery style to them, just about triple as long. Again, that might just be me geeking out. Takes a fall early.
Alexei looks annoyed at himself there. There was a couple of times where he didn't look quite comfortable. He got himself into a slightly awkward position. This was on the jump. Look at this, never even looked down to confirm that all was well. This was where he came slightly unstuck. About a few seconds before that, his feet were swinging around. He couldn't quite decide what to do, and he tried a couple of different methods here. All of them looked pretty powerful and strenuous.
It was a slap out to that final volcano hold that did it for him. Looks to me just to be a question. He just kind of lost momentum a little bit. And I think that bottom just after the jump sequence just threw him enough, took a bit more out of him than perhaps he was expecting.
Here is Kai Harada. I've already talked about the Moscow Youth World Championships a few times. He provided one of the moments of it, sadly not for the right reasons. He came out onto the last boulder in the junior final and had the chance to win it, couldn't do it. He lay on the mat in front of the crowd for what felt like an eternity. It must have been 4 or 5 minutes, just motionless, absolutely heartbroken. And that evening when I saw him in the hotel, didn't want to know, absolutely distraught that he couldn't claim the win in the youth bouldering. I'm sure he's okay now. Head seems to be working just fine in the qualifiers. So he's obviously got over that disappointment and got himself back into competition mode. But yeah, it was just one of those extraordinary moments where you're watching it live and you think he's going to get up soon, and he just stayed laying there. But he's a young climber, and he's an incredibly strong climber in multiple disciplines, so will have plenty more chances as the years go by, and he's got a big chance here in Innsbruck.
Into the jump, facing into the wall, and as we know, this makes this next section a bit easier. Left heel up. And that's where Alexei did something slightly different. He slapped up with the right before that heel was on. Just made it a more physical sequence, really. I mean, the end game was the same, but just that extra little bit of burl, if that's a word, in there that perhaps cost him later on in the route. So, into the first of the volcanoes. It's a big old hole, but there's not a lot in that you can use very well, and the feet are so bad because of the angle of it. A lot of body retention required. And here's his cross-through sequence. So he needs to keep his right hand where it is and then bring that left hand into the little pocket, as we can see him doing there.
Yeah, he's read that sequence perfectly.
Big drop knee there with the left to go up to that good crimp rail, but bad feet section. Music's starting to get more intense as he gets up into this crux section of the route so far.
Crowd getting behind him now. Initially it was quite quiet in the arena, and you could just hear the gamba of the Japanese team. And now Kai Harada obviously enjoyed that, and he wants more of it. Says to the crowd, come on, let's hear you. Make some noise, says the big screen here in the Olympia World in Innsbruck. And Kai Harada's looked very smooth up to here. We saw Meiichi Narasaki really struggling to figure out what to do with his feet over here. I think if at all possible, you want to get a foot out left before you move your body out to the left. That's how you do it, Kai Harada. Meiichi Narasaki is probably down at the front now watching and thinking, I wish I'd done that. But Kai Harada slips, moving out left. That definitely looked the way to do the move. And physically, it looked like he had the most left of any of the climbers we'd seen who got to that stage.
Yeah, the level in strength was quite interesting to see there. That right red crimp, the one he waved off in the audience, most athletes are just backing to hold on to that thing. It's not a very good hold, but he managed to hold on to it, clip, wave to the audience, then move through the move. So look at that smile on his face there. He's loving his time on the wall here in Innsbruck, and why wouldn't you? This is where the slip happened. You can see him. He didn't look to struggle to place that left foot, just needed to be very precise on it. Dropped in with that right hand. There's the foot pop.
Such are the details in lead climbing. You've got to think about all four limbs. And perhaps just wasn't putting enough force through that left foot. But it's a tiny mistake he made, if you can even call it a mistake. He's been given a 34 on the scores, so that leaves him just behind Meiichi Narasaki, who is still our provisional leader with 34 plus. Here comes Great Britain's Will Bosey.
He's making a bit of a habit of making semi-finals this season, was Will Bosey. Really got to be said, a bit of a breakthrough season for him. Only 19 still. Part of a big British team here this week. You can see them in the crowd, just giving them a bit of support.
Yeah, he also made the final in the second week of July, when you and I were commentating in Chamonix, 5th place there in the second lead World Cup of the season.
So Will using a different method. Right foot up, left hand press. Reach up, he's a tall man, makes that look easy. And here we go, Will Bosey into the start of his World Championship. We know he's got the potential to make the finals. Can he put it all together here? Quite a thoughtful climber when he climbs. Doesn't tend to rush it, although he's moving quickly through this bottom section. Cuts loose going up to those good left yellow holds. Did make me laugh, Charlie. This was described as a little jump by the route setters. It looks pretty big to me.
That's a good angle that you can see it from there. You can see how far he's got to go. Yeah, it's a good hole he's going for, but still slightly nerve-wracking move this low down on a World Championship semi-final route. No problem at all for Will.
Just having a feel around for that hold. Going up right, good tension from Will. He needs to get that left heel on at some point. Goes for the toe, interesting. It's like he heard me.
We are reasonably close to the wall here, but I don't think we're quite that close. Should be noted as well that Kilian Fischhuber is about 5 meters to our right doing the commentary in German, so if Will Boasty was going to listen to anyone up here in the gantry, it should probably be Kilian Fischhuber rather than us two.
I don't know if I agree with that, Charlie. Long history of falling off routes, me.
Teach him how not to climb.
Yeah.
So has he got this sequence right? He seems to have done. And the feet cut loose. He could have done without that. Got him back on pretty quickly.
Good climb from Will. He's taking rests in the right places.
One thing that's been very clear is that time's very unlikely to be a factor. You look where Will is now. In terms of holds, he's past halfway and he's got just under 4 minutes remaining. The route clearly climbs very quickly. You said it earlier, Matt, there's not really many opportunities for rest. There's opportunities to pause and regather your thoughts, but a good rest, we haven't really seen one yet.
No, there's shakeout moments, but that's about it, really. And Will starting to have to fight here. Lets that right heel locked on. There's the crimp that we saw being used earlier to wave at the crowd. Up to less lap. Will going well so far.
Goes out with the left hand, and clearly that section entering the head wall is going to be the key. Around hole 34 there. So right now we've got the top 7 climbers between hole 31 plus and 34 plus. This was Will on the jump. So clearly, if anyone can get through that section, you'd have to say they're looking pretty good for a place in the final, would be my reading of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. It was interesting how he used the bottom crimp rail, the good hold for his foot. Will, as I said, is tall, and you can see that using that left foot does mean you're slightly lower down on those holds there.
Now then, wait for the noise when the next climber comes out, as we see Will Boasty going up towards hole 34. Just wait for this. 18-time lead World Cup winner, 2-time Boulder World Cup winner, legend of the game, an Innsbruck local. Looking for his second World Championship win after his win in 2012, Jakob Schubert. No doubt who the crowd are rooting for. Didn't have his best of days in the qualifiers, hence him coming out 10th. He went really well on one of the qualifying routes and just never quite looked comfortable on the second one and slipped pretty low down, but that good performance on the first route luckily got him through.
That music will not help his nerves right now. It's not helping my nerves. Real booming, thudding sound coming out of the speakers. Jakob just taking his time. Of course, there's a longer time between that observation period and him coming out now, and this just increases throughout this list, so the athlete's needing a second just to remember the route.
He's coming into this World Championships in incredible form, Jakob Schubert. Hard to believe it's now 7 years since that incredibly dominant season he had in 2011. But in the 4 lead World Cups that we've had so far in 2018, he's won 2 of them. He was second in another one, and he was 4th in the other one. So a worst performance of 4th and 3 medals already, and picked up a medal in the bouldering in Munich 3 weeks ago as well. So Jakob Schubert, can we say the form of his life? Certainly equaling the form of his life right now. He's never really been off form, but he is looking incredibly strong right now.
Yeah, I saw him just kind of in the pre-season comps, and so I had to take a double take. He seemed to have grown a couple of inches all around in muscle during the off-season, and he's really come back with a bit of a fire lit under him, I think. I'm not sure if he's trained his training method or he's just got a little bit more psyched this season, but makes the jump look easy there. But yeah, just looking stacked, I'd say. And that left hand is where he will probably get a heel in a moment, where a lot of athletes have been. It's either the low toe or the heel. And he completely ignores me, goes for the right toe. Yeah, there we go, there's the left toe. Up into the volcano hold.
Yeah, between 2014 and 2017, Jakob had a 3-year break between World Cup wins, and you can't help but think, well, maybe he's getting a bit older by the standards of competition climbers. Are the results just beginning to gradually drop away? Not a bit of it. He's come back stronger than ever in 2018. After 2 World Cup wins in 2017, he's already matched that this year. But he's gunning for a World Championship. He won one in 2012. But imagine winning one in front of your home crowd.
And we saw Will Bosey using the top of that volcano hold, which I was quite surprised about because of the lack of texture on it. Jakob's got his toe inside it, where the grippy bit is. Into this crux section. This is where it's make or break time for any of the athletes competing today.
Yeah, Jakob Schubert, if he wants a shot at experiencing what Jessie Pilz felt last night when she won in front of a home crowd, he needs to first make it into the final. And in order to do that, he'll need to negotiate this section. If he can get out to that big blue volcano down and right of where it says Narasaki on our graphics, that could well be enough. We shall see. Still 16 climbers to go after him, but nobody has yet found a way through this section. Can Jakob Schubert be the first? Yes, he can. Latches hole 35, so he's moved into the lead, Jakob. Every move now just puts him further and further away from his competitors. Really awkward section coming up where the footholds are either non-existent or just where you don't want them. He's really beginning to fight now. He slaps up with the left hand towards hole 39. That's going to be a 38 plus for Jakob. That's 4 moves further than anyone had got before. And now he's got an anxious couple of hours just watching and waiting and seeing if anybody can better that. As long as a maximum of 7 climbers better it, he'll be into the final. It's going to be an anxious couple of hours, but that was a strong performance. We often see it in lead competitions where a series of moves can look impossible. You wonder if the route setters have got it wrong, and then a climber the caliber of Jakob Schubert comes out, suddenly is through them, and we've got a breakthrough.
Yeah, that sequence he fell on, the feet are there, they're just in the wrong place, and that's the problem. You saw him getting a very low right foot, left foot just didn't quite come together for him. Perhaps needing to be a little bit more static on that move up to the curving red hold of number 40, 39.40.
So there we can see it, 38 he's been given. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets a plus added to it, but as it stands, 38 for him. So Tomoaki Takata, the next climber to try the look, the 23-year-old Japanese. Just making the most of his individual observation time to study the route a bit further. Had a very, very successful bouldering season in 2018. He's made every semi-final in the Bouldering World Cups with the exception of Chongqing, and he's been into 2 finals, Meiringen and Vale.
So we're 11 athletes in there. I hope everyone back home is having a good time listening, wherever you are in the world. Well, welcome if you're listening to this after the event. But it's good that you can join us here in Innsbruck.
Same starting method we saw from Shuta Tanaka. Doesn't look the most comfortable, and you can see there he's only on the second hold and he's 15 seconds in. It's a tricky start.
Yeah, you either see the athletes absolutely cruising it and making it look simple, or doing that, adding an extra level of complexity to already a very complex route.
The thing is, though, we have seen climbers fall in Lead World Cups on the first move, so I suppose you have to do it in a way where you're certain, even if it is slightly inefficient, Tomoaki and Shooter using the same method, moving out to the right with the hands, creeping the right foot up. He's underway now, they'll get the clip done, and now he's got the jump. Just frees his arm from behind the rope. No problem at all. As I said, had some very big results in the bouldering this year, so power unlikely to be an issue, and it's not a bad thing to have a lot of.
Yeah, taking a moment to rest there, and that's interesting because, as we said earlier, there aren't many places to rest on this route, especially when you get into this next section and you're just basically grinding away at it. It's 3 minutes of agony for these athletes. Right foot deep in that volcano-style hold.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go up with the left hand, but he's got it right. He's gone with the right. This is how you do it so far. You can see our graphic there denoting where 8th is, because we want 8 climbers through to the final. So if you can get yourself into 8th place, then albeit provisionally, you are in the final. So you'll be into the top 8 now, but such a long way to go still. He's only the 11th climber of 26, as with Jakob Schubert and all those currently in the top 8. He will only be able to watch after his few minutes on the wall is up. Looking pretty smooth so far, but this has proved to be the crucial section on this blue banana volume. Seen a lot of climbers slightly indecisive here. There's several different ways of doing it. None of them are particularly comfortable, but you've just got to pick the one that suits you and go for it. And Tomoaki Takata looking pretty solid. We've not had the foot slips and the swapping around of the feet that we saw with a lot of the climbers, but he tried to Gaston between those 2 holds, effectively replicate pulling them apart, and it was just too powerful, and the right hand never quite landed properly. So he'll join that cluster of climbers in that 31 to 34 group.
Yeah, you can see when he went off the red little crimp up to the slopier hold, he just had a moment of readjusting on it just before that move we're seeing on screen, and it is a very deep lock off with that right shoulder. See, this is that move, Charlie, you were talking about. Kind of pull the holds together, and what a shot that is.
Yeah, I think, although it's not quite the best bit of the hold, he just needs to be slightly higher up so he can get his elbow out and kind of pull off the hold a little bit more, as it was. He was trying to pull down on it vertically, and it's pretty hard to pull off. There's Yuka Kobayashi, Japanese athlete turned coach. Here is Jörg Verhoeven. If such a thing could ever exist, he is an honorary Tyrolean. Married to Katja Sauerwein and has lived in Innsbruck for over a decade now. He's going to retire from IFSC competition after this World Championships. We were saying before we went on air, we were drinking a coffee. As a way to go out, a World Championship in your adopted hometown's not a bad way. I think a lot of people, including a lot of the local spectators here, would love to see Jörg in the final.
I'll be honest, I know I'm meant to be neutral, but if he made the final, I would be a very happy man.
Yeah, it would be a feel-good story.
It would be good. The writer in me wants to write that story. Yeah, Jörg wanting to concentrate more on outdoor projects. I know he's got some big things planned for his retirement, in air quotes.
Yeah, I think when retirement involves freeing routes on El Capitan and outdoor 9As, it's retirement only in one sense, retirement with a small R.
Yeah, he has been around the competition scene for a long, long time, very experienced athlete. And can mix between them, bouldering, lead climbing, he kind of does them all. And has had quite a bit of success over the years. And here he is in front of his home crowd. It's got to feel good for him. Left heel up. Having a bit of a blow there. There's so much physicality in this route down low, crossing through into that big volcano. Makes the clip. Again, not a lot of resting going on in this route. Up with the right hand. Read it well so far. You can see that left toe just crossing underneath him onto the smoother part of the volcano hold. Left cross through into that pocket, which we know is good.
He's reading the route well here, Jorg, but you can see it's requiring a lot of energy. Now the crowd come to life again to give him some support. He is a climber who can do it all. Boulder, lead, big wall, sport, trad, you name it, Jorg Verhoeven can do it. One of the best all-round climbers in the history of the sport. Gunning for a place in the final here. He's just entering what's proving to be the crux section where we're really separating the climbers. You can see he's pumped, he's grimacing as he makes his way towards the head wall. Can he get something back? Trying to manufacture something of a rest as he hugs that yellow volume with his heels. He's a relatively tall climber, so if he can jab a foot out to the left as he was trying to do then, you would have thought it would have brought him a bit of joy, but couldn't quite manage it and tries to cross through with the right hand and falls again in that 32-33 area and gets a big round of applause. Jorg Verhoeven.
Yeah, he really found something then, how he stayed on the wall. As he went out with that left foot, which is a pretty sensible method, a pretty good way of doing that. Couldn't make it stick. He was almost trying to press into the top of that yellow volume. Then went down and then tried to cross through. Great effort from a true legend of our sport. There you can see, just almost pressing into the top of the yellow volume. Went down to the good crimp rail, then tried the cross through. Couldn't make it stick.
Well, as it stands, he's in 5th place, Jorg Verhoeven, but if he doesn't make the final, and that is the last time we see him on an IFSC lead wall, he definitely didn't leave anything up there. It gives you some idea as well how experienced Jorg Verhoeven is. Competed in his first male youth competition before Shooter Tanaka was born. Competed in his
He's safely underway. I was kind of holding my breath there as he started going up. Looking a little bit shaky to start with, but on his way now through his little campus section, as we can see.
very, very promising young climber, Jakob, second in the Youth World Championships in Moscow back in August. Narrowly missed out by 1 place on a place in the Chamonix World Cup final back in July, and he also won the European Youth Championships in Innsbruck in the last week of May earlier this year. So Czech climbing isn't all about Adam Ondra in the lead. Jakob climbing 13th. No problem at all with the jump.
Gets that right heel hook with a little toe rest locked in.
So it's the last climber before the cleaning break, halfway through the semi-final after 13 climbers. The route setting team go up and clean the route. And Jakob, being the 13th climber, is the last one before that cleaning break.
Jakob very physical so far, a lot of cut loose moves, a lot of campus styling going on from the young man.
Yeah, he's definitely using all that power he's got. Has he conserved enough? That's the question. And that is not a comfortable position from which to clip.
No, we see most people clipping off the pocket rather than doing that rather horrible pinch.
Yeah, you could see slightly frustratingly, he then got himself into a nice position, having already done the clip. He would have been better just hanging on and clipping from there, but didn't cost him too much, and he's on his way again. this section here has proved to be the crucial one. Jakob Schubert, so far the only climber who has progressed through it and out the other side. So this section, crucial. Hold 33 that's hole 32, and 33 is the one immediately to the left. So it's this area that's really separating the climbers. And I still think that if you can find a way through to hole 35, that big blue volcano, it could well be enough. And Jakob almost found a way. Latched hole 34, went back to 33 with the right hand. And if he had his time again, might he have just committed to going out left a bit quicker instead of trying to get himself reset.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought he was going to come undone by bumping it with his left hand into that little crimp, because we've seen a lot of athletes take a fall having done that. Because of how low the feet are, it's very, very hard to get anything on that. And then sticking that pinch for half a second was a bit of a monumental effort from him. Great athlete to watch climb. Fantastic facial expression. That right, that's what I was talking about. To hold that here, we see into that pinch. Strong work.
So 13 climbers already been out, 13 still to come. We're going to have a cleaning break for the route setters to give the route a little scrub. Go and put the kettle on. Ready for the top half of the semi-final.
I quite like a cuppa as well. No one seems to be bringing us any up here. We talk about conditions a lot in climbing, and you were mentioning last night for the women's finals, it felt hot in here. It's different today. It's a bit cooler. Perhaps there's slightly less audience members in, and obviously at the end of the day of the finals. But yeah, feels like good conditions here in the arena at the moment.
Certainly does.
Ja, den Jakob Schubert haben wir noch ein bisschen Pause gegönnt. Der schaut, wie weit es noch geht Richtung Finale. Bei uns ist jetzt einmal der Georg, oder bei mir der Georg Hammer, der uns auch sehr begeistert hat mit seinem Semifinalauftritt. Gleich zu Beginn als erster rausgegangen. Für mich als Laie hat das sehr gut ausgesehen. Wir sind Sie selbst zufrieden?
Ja, ich bin mit dem Geld dann sehr zufrieden. Ich glaube, ich habe die meisten Passagen richtig gelesen und auch dann richtig ausgeführt auf der Wand.
Ich bin auch gut
zum Kämpfen gekommen am Ende und war schon recht fertig. Also
currently in joint ninth with Hannes Puben and Shooter Tanaka. That was Meiichi Narasaki. There's the jump up to hold number 20. Excuse me, hold number 14. It's so far not stopped any of the climbers. Great close-up of Hannes Puben. We're taking our pictures from ORF, the Austrian national broadcaster. Couldn't help but geeking out when we saw their TV trailer.
It was pretty special, wasn't it? Charlie and I walked in there to talk to the director. There was about 7 people around some very complicated looking machines and twisty knob things. And you know me, I like to twist a twisty knob, but I was kept well away from any of it.
Cue social media reaction.
So let's talk about the route a bit, because there's a real crux around holds 32 and 33 that is shutting a lot of climbers down at the moment. And that's where we're seeing all these falls in this highlight reel here.
Really doesn't make life easy for the judges, because they've got to decide exactly which hold they got to, which one they controlled, which one they moved off. A lot of judgment to be had, and this was Jakob Schubert. It's the only person as it stands to have even touched these holds that we're looking at the top. He's the only person to get his feet established on the head wall past that hole 35 onto the big red volcano.
Now, under normal circumstances, you might think Jakob could be safe into the finals, but the quality of the climbers to come later on, and we're talking Domin Skofek, Adam Ondra, Stefano Gasolfi, Sean Bailey, and that's just the top 4. There's a lot of climbers who are more than capable of getting very close to the top, if not topping this route. So Jakob, climbing fairly early on, is going to have a nervous wait to see if he's going to climb in front of his home crowd in the finals tonight.
The form he's been on this year, you'd expect him to make it through, Jakob, but as you rightly say, nervous wait. The 13 climbers still to go. We'll have Loic Timmermans out immediately after the cleaning break. Marcello Bombardi, Sasha Lehmann, Tomoa Narasaki, Luca Potokar, Max Rudiger, Alex Megos, Rudolf Ruana, Francesco Vetterata, Sean Bailey, Stefano Gasolfi, Adam Ondra and Domen Schkofitz still to come. Another look at the graphics of our Innsbruck wall. That doorway on the right is where the climbers emerge out. We're in the Olympia World Arena. Back in the day, we used to have IFSC World Cups and European Championships in the Marktplatz, the big square in the middle of Innsbruck. But we've moved to the Olympia World just for sheer capacity. The Marktplatz used to get pretty full, I remember, on the World Cups I attended here. So we've moved inside and we're on the in the Olympia World. This hosted some of the Olympic Games and the two times that Innsbruck held it in 1968 and 1976. I believe they actually had a bid for the Winter Olympics in 2026, Innsbruck. I'm not sure if that's still ongoing. But yeah, this arena did play host to Olympic sport. And we're just 2 years away now from the Olympic Games in Tokyo, where climbing will make its Olympic debut. And we're seeing an increasing number of climbers competing in all three disciplines. Again, a member of our route setting team drew the short straw, and he's the one being sent up to clean.
Not an easy job that. I was watching him while you were speaking there. It's hard work.
Oh, it's incredibly physical. It's exhausting.
But it's a good chance that we get to check out the holds on offer here. You get a great close-up perspective of them, because often what looks like a fantastic hold from afar, you realize when you actually get up close to it, there's not a huge amount that you can use on it. And part of that process with the athletes, of course, they haven't had a chance to climb on this route. They're trying to read it fresh, and it's difficult to know exactly which bit of a hold going up to is the good bit, or if there's any good bit on it.
There's Loic Timmermans waiting to come out onto the stage. He'll have known he was after the cleaning break. But still, just means he's got a couple of minutes to compose himself, and ORF, the Austrian broadcaster, have obviously shoved a camera right in front of him as well, just to increase the tension. Now he should be ready to go. Looking forward to seeing how low it goes here. He's a regular in the commentary box, but we'd always rather see him on the wall. And in the past couple of years, it's certainly been clear that he's got the raw horsepower to feature at the top end of IFSC competitions. Hasn't always converted it into results, but he did in the qualifying round here in Innsbruck. And wouldn't be a bad bet to make the finals. We'll see. He'll have to find his way through that 32, 33, 34 area and onto that big blue volcano over the lip below the red volcano, I think, if he wants to make it into the finals. Anything he could get past that would be a bonus.
Yeah, when we saw Jakob climbing through that section, although he got through it, he in no way looked comfortable. It is a real battle, that part. Very hard to read as well, I think. Yeah,
it's a really awkward series of moves. You're kind of side pulling, pushing your feet out to one side, then the other, meanwhile compressing your upper body. It's really awkward. And there's Marcello Bombardi, who'll climb after Loic, 2017 Chamonix World Cup winner. Had a brilliant season last year. Not quite matched those heights in 2018, but he has a big opportunity here. Looks slightly leaner now, Marcello. By any measure, he's a big bloke. Big old pair of shoulders on him, but looking very lean in these World Championships. Maybe lost a bit of weight.
Yeah, he's a bit of a tank of a man, isn't he? Kind of muscles his way through a lot of problems. Great boulderer, as you sort of expect with that kind of physique.
Route setting team just giving the starting holes the most thorough clean after Gen came down from brushing the upper section. And now the rope they used for the clean is coming down, and Loic can make his way out onto the stage. Best results so far in the Lead World Cups in 2018 of 13th in Villars, top half of the semi-final. And he starts 14th today, having qualified 13th.
Yeah, good to get underway again. The crowd just taking a moment to settle, go get a drink, go to the loo, before we come into the second half of this semi-final. Finals tonight, men's finals at 7 o'clock, Central European time. So make sure you tune in for that. Myself and Charlie will be here guiding you through every hold of the route.
There's a couple of the route setters still on stage, just to let you know what's going on. Are they rigging up to do some further cleaning? Is it felt there's some bit that didn't get a thorough enough scrub? I'm not sure. It looks like Gen is lining up to go again. He is, so there's possibly some element of the cleaning that just been told through my headphones there was some problem with the cleaning, and they're going to re-clean it. I'm not sure how many problems you can have with a route clean.
I think, Charlie, looking down there, they're pointing to the top section of the route. They didn't climb that because none of the athletes got there, I would presume, but perhaps now they have to.
Yeah, I wonder if they're saying to him, there's a Johannes Altner, you can see there, the IFSC judge, I think might be saying he motioned for 2, as if to say maybe there's 2 more holes that you didn't get to.
All I can think of is that he thought Jakob didn't go as high as he did, because I'm not sure he cleaned that half moon crescent shape one, the red one. That is hold 3940. Perhaps it's that, but we're sort of speculating at this point. There's a lot of frantic pointing going on down there. And I see they're pointing now to the right-hand side of the route, so the area where that crimp is.
Yeah, that is hold 31. You can see the route map there. That's what we get provided with. And it looked to me like they were pointing at hole 31, so perhaps there's one he's missed. There's IFSC technical delegate Tim Hatch down the front as well. We were talking about how physical it is to clean a lead route. Again, we'll be doing it twice.
It's a good workout for him.
I noticed none of the route setters said, oh, it's all right, you did it first time, I'll go up this time. No, he's getting sent back up.
He's going to need a protein shake after this one.
He is, isn't he? Okay, off he goes again. Clean number 2. Yeah, so he's not cleaning all the holds. There's obviously one specific hold or a couple up at the top that they felt he didn't give enough attention to. Bit of a French free being employed here, Alpine tactics. Just pull on anything you can find.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's Kai Harada, Kia Noguchi and Tomoaki Takata all speculating what might be going on. There's Kokoro Fuji on the left there as well. I can't see who that is hiding behind Kai Harada.
I think they're cheering on the route setter. I think that's what's going on. I think we should commentate for him. High right hand up onto that quick drop, pulling hard on it. Makes the clip. Okay, used to this. So, having a clean now, perhaps because he used it, perhaps because it's one of the ones he missed, but it's important to get it right for the athletes. You know, they've worked so hard to be here, and we need the playing field to be equal for them all. So a little bit of a delay, but worth it in the long run. Great faces going on there.
You know, I'm quite sure what to make of this. And so again, now giving a few of the holes another brushing.
If you're watching at home, take this opportunity, go get a sandwich. Keep us on loud, we'll tell you when it's going off. Cup of tea, cup of coffee.
Got some Yorkshire tea at home. I knew I should have brought it.
That'd be good.
So this is the volcano that people are crossing through to go up with their right hand. That one there, that's number 25. Again, Hiroshima. Gotta say, it's very, very unusual for something not to be clean enough when we've had a Japanese route setter doing it. The venue that we go to in Hachioji on the edge of Tokyo for the Boulder World Cups, you could eat your breakfast off every square centimetre of it. Again, just double checking that the officials are happy. Suspect he won't be buying Johannes Altner a beer tonight, but things have got to be done properly.
So if that was the hold they missed, it wasn't given a huge bit of cleaning there. It was sort of a brief dab at it. That's enough, and down he comes. Hopefully that means we can get underway for the second half of this semi-final here in Innsbruck.
There we can see Rei Sugimoto, Yoshiyuki Ogata, Kokora Fuji, Meiichi Narasaka, and Akio Noguchi there.
Pretty star-studded Japanese team, isn't it?
Yeah, they are incredibly strong. And there we could see it, Jakob Schubert still leading the way. So if 7 or less men can surpass his 38 plus, he will get the chance to climb in front of his home crowd this evening. Innsbruck, born and bred Jakob, and still lives in the city. And pretty sure Brook Rabatou is not in the men's lead semi-final. Apologies for that one. Here comes Loic. I said he had a bit of a wait while he did the cleaning break. He basically had a bonus 7 or 8 minutes to get even more nervous, and not an ideal preparation for him.
No, because he would have come out of his warm-up area, muscles ready to climb, knowing it was going to be a matter of minutes, and then had to sort of psychologically pull himself together again. It's tricky, but part of being an athlete at this level is dealing with that kind of pressure, and I'm sure we'll see no problems for Loic. Having a moment to look at the route, of course, it's been a while since he got to check it out in that observation period at the beginning of the semi-finals. He's allowed time now just to look at it, reassess it. Of course, he hasn't seen how any of the other athletes have climbed him, so there's no advantage given to him on that one. Right foot up. Easy press. I think, having seen a few athletes climb that bottom bit now, that is the easiest way to do it. Right foot, left foot, press up, straight into the hold. Perhaps favouring taller climbers. But so far, definitely not been a problem for any of them.
Remember in 2017 in Chamonix, and Loic climbed in front of 12,000 in the legendary Place du Mont Blanc. I think he gave it the taste for finals. Training been going well so far in 2018, from what I can glean from him.
Yeah, he's looking very fit at the moment, very lean, I think, from what I can see. Again, the athletes wanting to be really peaking their performance around about this time.
Again, he's taking the Thomas Yuan method of jumping and simultaneously turning out to face the crowd. Yeah, as you say, he's looking in good shape right now, Loic. One of the taller climbers. So, I'm not sure where he's up to with his studies, if he's already completed them, but I know he studied law. So he's not just an awesome climber, he's a pretty intelligent chap as well.
We'll have to put him on speed dial just in case. You never know. Always good to have a tame lawyer hanging around. So, cross-through section coming up. Most athletes using that left hand to reach through into the pocket and then clip off the pocket. Though puffing out its cheeks there is an effort, this. Makes a clip off the pocket. So this next section so far proving to be pretty straightforward for most of them. That right hand causing a few problems, but Loic does it well. Left foot into the volcano hold. Of course, no texture on top of it. Just about making that good crimp rail. Really had to work. Only, from what it looked like from here, got 3 fingers onto it. And now this is it, that 8th place. Showing you where it needs to be to make a final.
You can see how clustered together the climbers are. That green line and the big square saying 8th, denoting where 8th place is. Jakob Schubert's only a couple of moves further on in first with 38 plus. So all the climbers clustered together. The judges got their work cut out, and the climbers got their work cut out to get themselves well clear of that section.
So here he goes, no time to stop. You've just got to push through this into that right crimp we saw getting that second cleaning or first cleaning. What method is he going to use?
Now, I can't help but thinking that being slightly taller will be an advantage here, because Loic should be able to get his left foot out. He's gone for a slightly different method. He's got his right foot right underneath him. And as he went through with the right hand, we lost him. I wonder if he might have been better using that longer legs, keeping his right foot out to the right and jabbing the left foot out to try and find a bit more stability, because as it was with his right foot immediately underneath him, he's not quite as stable. This was the jump. Just looked relieved to land that one.
Yeah, that cross-through method he tried on the crux, we haven't really seen that work often with the athletes. You can see there, he's never really on it. Perhaps needed to drop that left foot down a little bit, just drop the knee to support himself.
This is when he went for the cross-through, causing all sorts of problems that section. Loic Timmermans goes into a 4-way tie for 6th place on 32 plus. Lots of ties so far. Last thing the route setters want really last night, we ended up with 10 women in the final after a big tie in the semi-final. They want to avoid that, but as it stands, that's what we're looking at. Remember, of course, that no one who's currently in the top 8 is guaranteed a place in the final. None of them might make it, including Jakob Schubert. Marcello Bombardi getting ready to climb now.
He's an interesting athlete to watch. I'm never quite sure what form he's going to be in on the day. He's not that consistent in terms of his performances, and he tends to either pull it out of the box and do something amazing or fall fairly low down. So we'll see what kind of form he's in today. As we said earlier, an absolute tank of a man. Look at those triceps.
Yeah, it was interesting in 2017. He went through a spate of making finals after his big result winning in Chamonix, but he hasn't quite found that form again this year. Kran in Slovenia, the last World Cup of 2017 was his last IFSC final. Made 3 in total in 2017, but yet to make one in 2018. As with Loic, best place finish of 13th in the Lead World Cup so far in 2018. We're 4 World Cups in. But the World Championships is a standalone competition. It's a whole different mindset, it's a whole different game.
Yeah, it's one chance to be forever a world champion. And in any sport. What a thing to be able to call yourself, as Jessie Pilz last night winning her gold medal here in front of her home crowd. Truly a wonderful, wonderful moment that. Please go back and watch it. I implore you to go back and watch it if you didn't see it. It was special to watch, special to commentate on, and very special for the crowd watching.
Yeah, amazing moment. Here's Marcello, needs to go up with the left hand, but, excuse me, with the right. Yeah, he's got that spot on. You can see him grimacing. Yeah, I saw Janja Garnbret last night, actually, and she was upset at how it had gone. But watch out, because she's really targeting the bouldering. But yeah, it was amazing last night with Jessie Pilz and Janja Garnbret shooting it out, the last 2 climbers on the route. Marcello, the latest climber to try his luck to get into the men's final this evening. As Matt mentioned earlier, will be live at 7 p.m.
Marcello looking very strong so far, solid bit of climbing. Now starting to shake though a little bit up to the crimp. He hasn't made the clip, needs to now.
Yeah, he's a climber that really expresses himself. He's not of the James Kim mold where you wouldn't know what he's thinking, but he's got an amazing ability to keep fighting through the pump, Marcello. The key seems to be what you do with your feet here. And that is really nicely done from Marcello Bombardi. The question is, how much energy has he got left? Tries to correct and bring the right hand across. And it's another climber joining that big group in the 33-34 area.
Yeah, I was going to say that method looked great to me. That left hand press, right hand in, left hand down to the crimp, and that right hand into the pinch style hold. But as we've seen here, this is the move I'm talking about, this left hand down onto the crimp and then the right hand bump in. Such a physical move. We've seen a lot of athletes falling there.
Sasha Lehmann will be the next climber out, another person having a big breakthrough season in 2018, as we just watched a couple of highlights of Marcello Bombardi. Sasha Lehmann, who a couple of weeks ago won the Swiss Climbing Lead Cup. He's been having an absolutely wonderful 2018, 17th, his worst result in the 4 Lead World Cups that we've had so far in 2018. He's been in the final of the most recent 3, 6th in Arco, 7th in Briançon, and 8th in Chamonix.
Yeah, one of those very emotional climbers. You always know what he's thinking. And we've witnessed him a few times, Charlie, back in the isolation area after an event.
I know exactly the incident you think about in Chamonix. Exactly. In the semi-final, he came back and kicked a load of stuff around the isolation right in front of our commentary box, furious with himself, and then ended up making it into the final. Yeah, which just goes to prove the old adage that don't get too down on yourself at the lows and don't get too big-headed at the highs, because he was as low as you could get, and as it turned out, it was enough to make the final.
Yeah, I do like it when you can see how much it matters to these guys, because, I mean, we hang around within this scene quite a lot. We see how much effort they put into it, so I like to see a bit of emotion from them. Shows how much they care.
Yeah, he'd be a hopeless poker player, Sasha Lehmann. It's the second quick draw that hasn't quite clipped neatly. The first one, he just had to flick the rope in as well. They're the 2 holds he's aiming for. Pretty good holds that you launch from for the jump. The feet aren't too bad, and we haven't seen anyone as yet fall on the jump. Sasha just thinking it through, just playing with the minds of the climbers a bit, the route setters here, led by Jan Zabranek. Nicely done, perfect execution from Sasha, got his timing right, landed it very comfortably.
Yeah, difficult moves, these kind of fridge style, hugging that volume. It's just awkward. They are good holds up there. And the feet especially are very nice with that left heel, you can see, but just a little bit awkward to reach your arms around that yellow volume.
Yeah, there's quite a few moves on this route that are a bit like trying to carry a fridge. You know, squeezing and your whole, kind of like the anaconda around the stomach feel of being squeezed and just not quite being able to get enough air in and recover properly. This is the dynamic section through the volcanoes, and Sasha cut loose there, and I don't think it was intentional. He's got his feet back on. Heart in the mouth moment for him then. His semi-final could have come to a very premature end. Psychologically, could probably do it, just taking 10 seconds there to recover, get himself back in the zone.
Yeah, he showed good maturity though, because when he cut loose, he didn't try to fight it too much. He went with the swing and managed to use the momentum to get his right foot back on that yellow volume, which saved him, I think.
Yeah, he didn't panic. He's always had the raw strength, Sasha Lehmann, but it seems that this year he's brought the mentality to add to it, and more than capable of making a final here. You can see live scores. He's currently on hole 30, moving up now. That's 32. So this is the crucial section that the vast majority of climbers have got to and then been stopped by. So he moves himself into the top 8 as it stands, and he's got his feet dabbed out to the left, and it's same as Marcello Bombardi as he brings the right hand across we lose him. Route setters might be slightly nervous, not to mention the judges, not to mention the Austrian TV director thinking about the final this evening, where there's the potential for a big tie and more than 8 men going through. We've now got a 5-way tie for 3rd place, a 4-way tie for 8th. And Meiichi Narasaki, who climbed 3rd, still sitting in 2nd place.
Yeah, it was interesting. 2 athletes who I would say are quite similar in terms of style, quite physical, both doing the same method, and neither of them managing to make that right-hand stick, as we see it here, just bumping in and losing it on the way down.
The second of the Narasaki brothers, Tomoa, the reigning boulder world champion, 2016 overall World Cup champion as well, World Cup winner in the bouldering already in 2018, won in Moscow back in April. Tomoa Narasaki. Rumours abound of just how low his speed climbing times have got as well. I've heard talk of 6.4 in training. So a real all-rounder.
You're implying sort of possible Olympic podium places there, Charlie, I think.
I think a lot of people would have him down as a favourite for the Olympics 2 years out. It's very early to be making such speculation, but immensely strong in bouldering, multiple World Cup winner. Increasingly impressive in lead, as you can see him in the top 10 of a World Championship semi-final, and clocking times of well under 7 seconds on a speed wall.
You're talking about speed, he's moving through this bottom section very, very quickly.
Yeah, you would expect nothing less. He's got that wonderful springy style. Easy to spot, very difficult to imitate. He almost jumped too far, his legs fired right back then. Had so much momentum.
Yeah, we talk about core strength a lot, and it's a move like that where you see it in action. There's no backwards swing, just enough muscle to prevent it, swing back into the wall and move on quickly, and that's where core comes in. And also sections like this where holds are not very good, the foot holds aren't very good, and it's an overhanging wall. It's all about that core. Core blimey. It's like the worst time I've ever said on a live stream.
So Tomoa onto the volcanoes. He would appear to have read it right. Just a bit of an issue with the rope there, just caught around his right leg. Absolutely rocketing up this route, Tomoa Narasaki. He's heading towards hold 30. He's got 4 minutes left.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he reads this style. Of course, we know him to be an incredibly strong boulderer, but he's starting to struggle here a little bit. Makes the clip, needs to bring something back into those arms. Almost rushing these moves now, just needs to chill out a little bit. How's he going to do this? Matches, left hand, and goes.
Well, he wasn't on the wall long, Tomoa Narasaki, but he joins the long list of climbers, all tied in the middle there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was rushing or if he was pumped or just didn't. Maybe he thought it was slightly easier this section than it became. But here you can see just not set, not ready for that move. And the second time makes it easy, matches that hold, left hand out, and just, you can see his body position. He needed to bring his left foot through, bridge out a little bit more than he did. His body weight too far to the right to make that stick.
So getting very, very tight. It's now a 5-way tie for 3rd place and a 5-way tie for 8th. Certainly potential that we end up with more than 8 climbers in the final. Luka Patoka of Slovenia, the penultimate Slovenian out. first of two. 7th in the qualifiers, climbing 18th in the semi-final.
Youngest athlete we've seen out on the stage tonight, just 16 years old.
He was second in the Youth A lead in the Moscow Youth World Championships in August. And he's already won a Youth A lead European Cup this year, Luca. Not a name we hear that often on the IFSC lead streams, just the two semi-finals for him so far this year. 15th in Villars and 24th in Chamonix, but I think we're going to be hearing the name more and more as time goes by. His compatriot, Domen Skofitz, will be the final climber to take part in the semi-final today. Welcome to Innsbruck to those of you just settling down on the couch to watch the business end of this lead World Championship semi-final. Charlie Bosco, Matt Groom, live from the Olympia World in Innsbruck. Hashtag IFSC WCH if you want to get in touch. And we are really getting to the stage where places are going to be decided. Max Rudiger is next out. He's the 8th to last climber, so after Max, we'll have our first confirmed finalist.
Yeah, as always with these semi-finals, the atmosphere sort of builds throughout these couple of hours. The crowd now, I can see them starting to lean forward in their seat. Music starting to kick in. These athletes climbing in order, reverse order, so Domen Skofitz climbing last tonight has had the best qualifying score. So you would think that perhaps the athletes getting further and further up the route as the semi-final progresses, but of course it's not always that way, and full early on going up to the second of the volcano holds with the left hand.
Oh, that's such a shame for Luca. Looks back up ruefully. It's the same move where we lost Fedir Samoilov earlier on today. Disappointment for Team Slovenia. That was the jump earlier on, no problems with that.
Just using a closed crimp there, you can see his thumb curling over the top of his fingers. Very secure way of holding onto the holds, but it does put a huge amount of pressure through the fingers.
That's the same thing that Fedir Samoilov did, tried to adjust with the right hand when the left hand landed, and as you said, when Fedir did it, it's just not good enough, that left hand.
Yeah, and you can see his legs way up high above his hips there. They're disappointing for him.
So Max Rudiger, the first climber out who has his fate in his hands. If Max Rudiger sets a new high point, he's going to be into the final. No nervous watching, no waiting to see what anyone else can do. He is the 8th to last climber. He can guarantee himself a place in the final. Picked up a World Cup bronze medal in Arco in 2017 when his compatriot Jakob Schubert won. Slightly awkward looking start, but he's underway now. Climbing in front of his home crowd. He's the last of 3 Austrians out into this semi-final. At times over the past couple of seasons, he has looked immensely strong. Already made a final in the World Cups in Villars, 5th there in the first lead World Cup of the season.
Yeah, into the first of these good holds, considerably jugs compared to every other hold on this wall. Setting himself up for the jump. No hesitation, straight up and twist. I say no hesitation, he did have a little moment there. Almost going too far towards the audience, but just to keep it together, right hand up. Bit of Eminem in the background.
I like it. I doubt he's played at the Olympia World before. He can tick that off his bucket list.
High right heel there to get himself set for this clip.
So every climber made it to this stage, but we've now lost 2 climbers on the move. Max is about to attempt. No problem at all for Max. The Olympia world enjoyed that one. Now then, has he made a slight route reading error here? He's with the right hand where ideally he'd like the left.
Yeah, every athlete we've seen do this does manage to get through it, but they need a couple more moments to work it out. And you can see here, perhaps though, using it as a good rest, but you can see there the hesitation. It just doesn't quite feel right. He knows he's made a little mistake. Now sorts it out.
Well, it's a powerful way of doing this move. You can see on those holds, they're dual textured. Not all of them, not all of the hold that has good friction. He's found a way through it, Max. Perhaps not the most efficient way, but the job is done. He's got the right hand where he needs it, and he's on his way.
He's looking incredibly calm watching that face, managing to block out the crowd who are going nuts behind him as he gets into the crux section. It's tense.
It's very tense. You can see now, still not got to that stage he needs to be at if he wants a minimum of 8th place. As I say, a new high point for him will guarantee him a place in the final. Crowd really egging him on now, Max. He is the last Austrian climber in the semi-final and just got his hands mixed up. That seemed to come from nowhere. It looked like he had something left in the tank.
Just waiting for the scores to be updated, but I'm not sure he's made it through.
No, I don't think he has. I think that's a 32 plus from Max Rudiger.
So next up, a climber you might be a little bit familiar with. Alex Megos about to walk onto the stage.
So 32 plus for Max. Quick question on social media about the plus. Your score that you're awarded is according to which handhold you reached. So if you control a hold, you are given that score. If you get to hole 32 and control it, you get a 32 plus. If you make a controlled climbing movement in the interest of progressing along the route, then you get a plus next to it. So if you, as I say, controlled climbing movement in the interest of progressing along the route, that's a direct quote from the rules. That's when you get a plus in answer to your question. So getting the big intro is the first man to ever on-site a 9A sport climb. And now a World Cup winner as well, having won in Briançon in the 3rd week of July. Here is Alex Megos.
Yeah, sort of recently rediscovered his love for competition climbing. And he's been on the circuit all season, managing to squeeze in the occasional outdoor rock climb.
Yeah, I remember we chatted to him in Chamonix and said, have you been training much for the competitions? He said, yeah, I've been training all of the last week. Not the last year or the last month. He gave it a week, and then in between competitions went to Seouz and tried his project. So, but I'm not sure how long people are going to fall for the, I'm just seeing how it goes thing with Alex Megos. He's taking these competitions increasingly seriously. And you can see it meant a lot to him to win in Briançon. And I think competitions are going to be a bigger part of his life going forward.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love to add an Olympic gold to his collection of climbing achievements in the future. Always a bit of a rivalry between him and Adam Ondra in terms of who climbs what outside first.
Well, I think a lot of people thought Adam Ondra would be the first to get through that 9A on-site barrier. But it was Alex who got there, and it's still really his calling card. But yeah, he can now add World Cup winner to his long list of achievements. World Championship would be nice as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, this does mean a lot to him. As you said, he's fairly laid back in terms of his approach sometimes, but he does care about this stuff. And the fact he's put the amount of time in during the time where he could be climbing outside just shows his dedication at the moment.
Yeah, he likes you to think he's laid back, but I've actually been outdoor climbing with Alex. Well, I was belaying, but he's not that laid back when he doesn't feel he's performing at his best. He's a pretty intense character, actually, deep down, Alex. When he's not climbing, when he's not training, when he's not on the wall, I agree, he's a very laid-back guy, but there is a steely determination in there. And I suspect, as we've seen over the course of this year, a bit of a competitive spirit as well.
So taking a moment to rest here, going with that right hand up to the top crimp rail, which he sticks easily. Foot on top of that volcano hold, no texture on there, but a few athletes have been using it regardless.
Alex Megos fighting his way up. Jakob Schubert, by the way, now guaranteed his place in the final. 7 men to go, and Jakob's currently top, so he's going to end up in at least the top 8. It's just a question of position now. So Alex Megos entering what is proving to be by far and away the toughest section of this route, or what we've seen of this route. Can he find a way to use his feet? Can he find a stable position to move through this section? That's the move where we lost Loic Timmermans. Alex does it nicely in control. Latches hole 35. That is him into the final now, Alex Megos. He's going to finish behind Jakob unless he can find a few more moves, but he will have done enough to make it into the final. Clever use of the drop knee. Tries to go up with the right hand and grab the volume. There is actually a tiny screw-on hold there at number 38. But couldn't quite manage it, but either way, he's into the final. He's second behind Jakob Schubert as it stands. This was on the jump. Again, the Thomas Johan, Loic Timmermans method of turning to face the crowd. This was the key section, and a bit like Jakob, his method made it look relatively straightforward.
Yeah, it was very Alex Megos-esque, this section, working it out. Lots of drop knees. This looked as a, we'll see it and I'll talk it through when he does it, but this was where he fell, big drop knee there. I'm not sure that was going to work, but
yeah, it's pretty poor, that blue volcano that he had with the left hand. I mean, ideally you'd want to match that and move from there, but it is quite poor, and there's quite a specific place to hold it. What you can't see there is that for his left thumb, there's a little red screw-on hold for Alex. Rudolf Ruana of the United States, first of 2 American climbers in the top 6 of this IFSC Lead World Championship semi-final, live from the Olympia World in Innsbruck. 6 minutes begins and Rudolf is underway.
yeah, we talked about Jakob Schubert climbing early on. Has paid off for him. Perhaps not what he would have ideally wanted to climb that low down. Just a bit more pressure. But then again, I suppose a little bit more time to rest now before that finals.
He took part in all 4 Lead World Cups in July, Rudolf, with the best place finish of 27th in Arco, missing the semi-finals by 1 place. And he just had the most incredible day in the qualifiers. He's got some real pedigree. He was 7th in the male junior lead right here in Innsbruck in the Youth World Championships of 2017, and 2nd place in the Youth B lead back in 2014 at the Youth World Championships in New Caledonia. But this really is a breakthrough result in terms of senior competition for him. Regardless of what happens in the semi-final, this is already going to be his best senior result by quite some distance.
Yeah, and at 19, every time he climbs at this level of semi-final, it's going to be an experience, it's going to be a learning opportunity for him, and it's just going to get better and better and better. Coming into these volcano, we know they're not that good. We've seen a few climbers drop this move, not using that thumb catch.
American team providing plenty of encouragement now. He's got it correct so far. He's gone up with the right hand. Just needs to cross through with the left. Ideally clip, if at all possible, from that volcano. Then he'll get with the left hand. And he was just dabbing his feet around and just couldn't quite find a comfortable position. And perhaps a slightly disappointing outcome for him, but regardless, a standout result in his career so far. World Championship semi-final. He's currently in 19th place with a score of 22 plus. Yeah, he just couldn't quite figure out what to do with his feet.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the athletes really grimacing through that move when they bring the left through and across over. And he was sort of trying to use an intermediate to get there. Just not quite the strength to pull that one off. There's the leaderboard. Jakob Schubert on top, Alex Megos second, Michi Narasaki in third, Marcello Bombardi fourth, Kai Hadrada fourth. And there's that draw of 34 points.
Yeah, we've got a five-way tie there in fourth. The top three are actually guaranteed their place in the final now, which is Alex Megos, Jakob Schubert and Michi Narasaki. If none of the remaining 5 climbers, including Francesco Veterato, or excuse me, if one of the remaining 5 climbers don't get past hole 34, we're going to end up with a very big final.
So getting underway, not many athletes left now.
Yeah, fifth to last climber out, Francesco. He's still got his compatriot Stefano Ghisolfi to come. Gone pretty quickly this lead semi-final. We've had climbers climbing very quickly, although they've been getting high on the wall. It's not taken them long at all. We're less than 2 hours in. The women's semi-final yesterday ran for almost 3 hours. And we had effectively a double cleaning break today as well, when the route setters weren't judged to have done a good enough job by the IFSC officials and got sent up for a second go.
I think it's due, and we've said this a few times about the lack of rests on this route. Really, the only rest they have is sort of coming up after this jump. It's one of those routes that requires the climber to keep on going, keep on pressing. Pressing? Pressing. Here comes the jump. Keeping facing towards the wall. Seems to be the most effective way of doing that section.
Yeah, I was really surprised when we saw, I think it was Tom Ayoan who was the first to do it, where he turned to face the crowd. It seemed an odd way of doing the move. Vast majority of climbers have stayed facing in. Francesco, relatively tall climber, so these reachy moves not proving too problematic. Just to give you some of the names who we already know sadly aren't going to make the final. Looking down my list, Alexei Rubtsov, Hannes Puman, Shooter Tanaka, Will Bosi, Jörg Verhoeven, Loic Timmermans, Timo Narasaki, Max Rudiger. So the big names not making it through, including Francesco Vetterata. Big slip from him, that's that 19+ move. He's been awarded hole 20, but either way, it's around that first volcano section. And that is such a disappointment after a brilliant qualifying performance. So with the 4 climbers still to go, it's looking very, very likely that we're going to end up with more climbers in the final than the 8 we would normally have.
Yeah, I think we can consider this to be the first crux of the route, even though most athletes have got through it. It's tricky, and it's that readjustment that puts pay to a lot of them. And you can see there is a thumb catch, but it doesn't actually really work. It only really works when you're rocking up right to move through it.
Sean Bailey will be the next climber on the stage. Already picked up an IFSC World Cup medal in 2018. That was in the Vale Bouldering back in June.
Yeah, another athlete you would consider him to be an Olympic hopeful for sure. Consistently good at lots of disciplines. And at 22, a lot of time left in his climbing career.
Yeah, if memory serves me right, the Vale World Cup was on the 9th of June, so 3 months ago to the day. Second American climber out. Really strong outdoor climber as well. Did biography at Seus in pretty short order. I remember a couple of seasons ago in 2016, he was traveling, he was dirt bagging between the World Cups, the lead World Cups, and we were in Innsbruck, and he came and crashed at my house for a few days. Certainly the only person who's ever slept on my couch who's climbed 9A+, that's for sure. Really strong climber. It'd be great to see him in the final. He's generally puts on quite a show.
Yeah, he's a popular figure around the circuit. Always friendly, always smiling.
Don't have a clock on screen, but just so you know, it's the regulation 6 minutes, of which 40 seconds have already elapsed.
So the crowd's silent early on, building up the tension for him.
Sean just lining up the jump. Again, turning to face the crowd.
So into this fridge huggy section now. Not difficult, but can take up a little bit of energy. Coming up to what is the first crux of this route, these 2 volcano holds. Sean taking his time. We've seen a few athletes really moving very, very quickly through this bottom section. Sean a little bit more controlled. Into this section now, this crux move.
He's got himself into a really powerful position there, Sean. Needed to get his feet back on the wall. He's basically hanging on to a gymnast-style iron cross. And that is not a good position in which to find yourself. And he's really got a fight on his hands here, Sean Bailey. That's the second time in half a dozen moves where his feet have cut loose when he didn't want them to, and you can see the effort just beginning to show in his movement, slightly jerky, feet stabbing at the footholds somewhat.
Yeah, he looked in trouble for a moment there. I thought he was going to use that intermediate we saw earlier, and then another big cut loose onto that good hold. Sean Bailey's got 9 lives. He's used a few of them so far on this route. Hasn't made the clip yet either.
And again, the feet cut loose. That's the 3rd time. He's really lost his feet, and Sean Bailey, I think, will be disappointed with that. He never looked comfortable on the route. 3 times his feet popped off, and he managed to save it 3 times, but it just cost him so much energy.
Yeah, it was a bit of a scrappy climb from here. You can see he shakes his head looking back up the wall. Not really feeling the flow. Started off well, good jump. Swung around to face the audience a little bit.
Yeah, but even then he had to readjust when he landed the jump, and then there was around the volcanoes twice when his feet popped, and then again when he exited the section. Yeah, definitely capable of more, Sean Bailey, but just never seemed to get going.
Yeah, he hadn't made the clip at that stage either, so he was just desperately trying to get as many points as possible before that pump kicked in. So Stefano Gasolfi out next. Italian climber living in Arco.
Yeah, he's a man you know well. Stefano Gasolfi. As you say, now based in Arco, originally hailed from Turin, but made the very understandable decision to go and live on the shore of Lake Garda, surrounded by 5,000 brilliant sport routes.
And the ice cream.
And the ice cream, yeah, not to mention the ice cream.
Very important, that. Yeah, he's looking fit at the moment. He's feeling strong. He's got a good support crowd behind him. His partner, Sarah, traveling to most of the World Cups with him. And they've kind of taken Laura Rigora under their wing a little bit, helping bring her up in rock climbing and the competition scene. So good vibes from the Stefano Gasolfi camp for sure.
Stefano won the World Cup, as you just saw in your graphic there, in Chamonix in 2018.
Just taking a moment there, didn't look particularly settled on that move.
I think it was good for Stefano to win that World Cup in Chamonix because he'd won World Cups before, he'd won 3, but they'd all been in China, and we get slightly smaller fields in China. And you could make the suggestion that he'd only won when we had a smaller field. So to win in Chamonix, which is arguably the biggest and most popular lead World Cup of the season, I think got rid of anyone who was doubting him.
I think he was getting bored of answering the question of why he always only wins in China. I've certainly asked him that question and he couldn't really answer it. It just sometimes works out that way, I guess. But yeah, a breakthrough for him. He's one of those athletes you expect him to do well. It would be surprising if he falls in this first crux of the move, but it can happen. It's a very, very tricky route here in the semi-finals.
He'll be competing in the remaining 3 lead World Cups of the season. Make sure you don't miss them. The last weekend of September, we are in Kran in Slovenia, just to the north of Ljubljana. And then the 3rd and 4th weekends of October, we're over in China for the 2nd time this year on the IFSC Tour, Wujiang and Xiamen on the South China Sea, both of which have been the scenes of Stefano Ghisolfi wins in the past. Now the first crux coming up, as you rightly say, Matt. We've now lost 3 climbers on this move. Stefano opting to get his foot high and slightly missed the thumb catch and then adjusted onto it and then decided he didn't need it after all.
Yeah, he's starting to battle here a little bit.
And I've talked to you before, you've told me about when you filmed and made features with Stefano about his dedication to climbing.
Yeah, he's got a...
Oh, we lose him just stepping out to the right. That is a big surprise in this semi-final. You said it, he didn't quite look himself lower down on the route. And that is a huge shock. Stefano Ghisolfi out, is not going to make the final. Let's have another look.
He looked shaky going up with that. Almost thought about matching that hold. You can see disco legging on the right. Made the cross through look pretty easy, actually, but just never had that right foot in a good position. Twisting out of that hold.
That is a big shock. Stefano Ghisolfi is not going to contest the final. The Innsbruck crowd this evening denied seeing one of climbing's biggest names.
Yeah, he is going to be devastated about that.
Who would be a coach? So there it is. I mean, as it stands, we've got 8 finalists and no more. But if it's going to stay like that, that means that both Adam Ondra and Domen Skofitz do not make it in the top 8, which you would have to say seems reasonably unlikely. But that is a big shock. Stefano Ghisolfi not getting there. Francesco Vetterata not getting there. Sean Bailey not getting there. Rudolf Ruana not getting there.
Now, I'm wondering now, as we're sitting in this hall, whether conditions are starting to come in a bit. It's definitely got warmer in here. We're nearing the end of the semi-final. A lot of athletes have touched the holds. Perhaps getting a little bit greasy.
Well, interestingly enough, Matt, the last 4 climbers we've seen since Alex Megos, in fact, the highest ranked one we've got is Sean Bailey, and he got to hold 27. So either conditions are getting worse, or that is just a strange coincidence. Here is Adam Ondra. Where to start with him?
We're looking at a man at 25 who's pretty much done everything in climbing. He's pushed the boundaries of outdoor climbing. He's won indoor events, and he loves the World Championships. He wants to win World Championships, and he's very open about that passion he has for it. And you can see when he came out, that grin on his face. He loves competing here.
He's won the last 2 lead World Championships in 2014 and 2016. In 2014, he also won the bouldering. He did the double. He'll be entering the bouldering here in Innsbruck, but let's not get carried away with ourselves. Almost did the double in Paris, ended up 2nd in the bouldering, so it was almost a double-double from Adam Ondra in the last 2 World Championships. I don't think you'd find too many people who'd argue with the statement that he's the greatest outdoor rock climber of all time.
I agree, getting a little right leg knee bar in there, we haven't really seen the athletes using a lot of. Maybe his outdoor credentials coming in.
He's been training very hard for this. Since you and I chatted to him in Arco in the last weekend of July at the Lead World Cup, he wasn't in great competition shape then. He'd just got off the plane from 5 weeks of climbing outdoors in Alberta in Canada. He wasn't in great competition shape, but he's been quite open about the fact that he's basically been locked in the gym ever since training for this World Championship. And Adam Ondra is on the wall and he's underway.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the Black Diamond film of him training, it's worth a watch, because he not only looks at his training, but discusses his attitude towards the Olympics. Fascinating video, insight into his life.
It's hard to believe he is only 25.
Yeah, no, when I saw that, I've forgotten. He's only just finished studying. Looking good so far. Right hand up. Here's a cross through where we lost Stefano Gasolfi. And a surprise twist. Classical music on in the background. I'm not sure that's psych music.
So this is where we lost Stefano. No problems for Adam, it would seem. He's only on the wall for 6 minutes, so we don't really have time to list all of his achievements, but a couple of the more notable ones. Climbed 9A at 13 outdoors. He's won the World Cup combined title, the boulder title, the lead title. He's won World Championships in 2 disciplines. He's climbed 9C outdoors. But as I say, the 6-minute rule caps our ability to list all his achievements as his right foot pops. Adam Ondra, that was a bit of a heart-in-the-mouth moment.
Yeah, he was choosing to rest in the place not many athletes do, and he's starting to breathe a little bit. That will have cost him.
When your foot slips like that, don't underestimate the big shot of adrenaline that you get that just puts you off your stride. He needs to dial it down again now, Adam. A 34 will get him into the final, which he doesn't quite have yet. A couple of moves away. So Adam Ondra, high on the Innsbruck wall. That's hold 34 there, so I think that should be Adam into the final, but can he find a new high point? He can't. It's going to be tight here for Adam Ondra.
Yeah, he was trying to do a right heel hook, which I was surprised at. He's a very tall climber. He's definitely got the length to reach down to that crimp rail, but decided instead to right heel hook.
Score has popped up. He's got a 34. He's in. He's in. There's the Czech coach telling him. There he goes. He's just been told. Only just so. My word, Adam Ondra pushed that close. Never seemed to quite recover after that foot pop.
No, he was trying to rest. You could see him shaking out on it. Determination in his face there. That's that crimp. Here's the right heel, which is tricky for him. We've seen a lot of athletes trying to cross through into that right hand and losing it.
So that was hole 34 that he got there, Adam. Made it by 1 move.
Oh, you can see the Czech coach there. He thinks he had it straight away, but he had to check.
So we've now got a 6-way tie for 4th, so we're going to have at least 9 climbers into the final. If Domen Skofits can get a 34 or better, we'll have 10. And there you see it, Jakob Schubert's high point, as yet unmatched, the winner of 2 of the 4 lead World Cups we've had so far in 2018.
Yeah, proving to be a very difficult semi-final route. Domen Skofit, 24 years old, part of that incredibly successful Slovenian team at the moment. Just so many stars to list in that team. So our final climber here this afternoon. Finals, of course, at 7 o'clock Central European time. Myself, Matt Groom, and Charlie Bosco will be here on the live stream. These amazing pictures from Austrian TV.
Yeah, ORF, the national broadcaster, somehow roped me into doing their live interviews immediately after, with the winner immediately after the final. So yesterday was the first of how many finals we got? Speed, bouldering combined. We got 7 finals. First of 7 times where I've got to do the Usain Bolt sprint through the arena from the top right-hand end of the arena to the bottom left to do the live interview for ORF, then run all the way back up there.
In German or English?
Oh no, in English. In English, no. few, can you imagine?
Domin Skofik starting up this route just before the jump section. Cutting loose there. The best holds on the route he's holding on to now. Makes you realise how bad the rest of them are. Jumping up, facing the wall, looking in complete control at the moment.
So here is Domin, the 2016 overall World Cup winner. That year, he didn't manage to turn that into a World Championship win. Can he find a way in 2018? This for a place in the World Championship final for Domin Skofik. He needs a 34 or better. That is the small blue crimp out to the left on the head wall, below and right of the big blue volcano.
Domin cutting loose up to the pinch style hold. Should bump right hand up again. He does into the volcano. And now the cross through move. We lost Stefano Gasolfi on in a surprise turn of events. No problems for Domin.
Big third in the last two lead World Cups. Believe it or not, it's actually over 2 years since he won a World Cup. Imst, just down the road, an hour to the west of Innsbruck in the Vorarlberg region of Austria, was the last place he won a World Cup. That was in August of 2016. Can he find a way first into the World Championship final? Secondly, could he win it? We shall see. Half a dozen or so moves to go. He's looked in really good shape so far this season. There's no doubt that this is the focus of his season for Domin. Hold 34, you can see there where it says Narasaki is just obscuring the hole, but that's where he needs to get to book himself a place in the final. He's getting close now, Domin. That's hold 32. The one to the left is 33, and the crimp, that isn't quite visible just yet. That one there is 34. He didn't control it, did he? If he falls now, the judges have got their work cut out. He won't know that that's a crucial hold, Domin. There it is, that's 34 for him. That's 35. Domin Skofik is going to be in the final tonight. We're going to have 10 people in the final, as we did with the women. The order as yet undecided. But Jakob Schubert, Alex Megos, Domin Skofik, Meichi Narasaki, Adam Ondra, Marcello Bombardi, Sasha Lehmann, Jakob Konechny, Tomoaki Takata and Kai Harada will all be in the final. 38 plus was the high point set by Jakob Schubert. Domin Skofik has surpassed that. That's going to be a 39 or 39 plus for Domin Skofik. The number doesn't matter, the ranking does. He has come out top in this semi-final here in Innsbruck.
That was a statement of intent from Domin Skofik. Coming into this final, obviously qualified in first place for the semi-final. Never an athlete you can write off, but man, did he look strong coming through there. What a final this is going to be later.
Yeah, that was when Domin went up to hold 35 and confirmed what we knew one move before, which was that he would climb in the final this evening. Myself, Charlie Bosco and Matt Groom will be here with you.
Yeah, that was the hold Domin got to. Controlled it well going for the match, then fell, but a high point.
Yeah, it ended up being a 39, 38 plus for Jakob Schubert, so he won it by half a move, more or less. There's the Slovenian team's reaction to it. Oh, that's going to be some final tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait. So the route setters now will be tearing down this semi-final route, throwing a final route on the wall.
Well, after the dramas we had last night with time, they'll be very keen to separate this big tie. We've got a 6-way tie for 5th place, but there is the list of your 10 finalists. It's going to be Domin Skofik, Jakob Schubert, Alex Megos, Meichi Narasaki, Adam Ondra, Marcello Bombardi, Sasha Lehmann, Jakob Konechny, Tomoaki Takata and Kai Harada, climbing in reverse order to how I've just read them out. So Domin Skofik will be the last climber out onto the stage.
Yeah, interesting watching that route. It sort of played out how the route setters thought it would. Lower crops for those 2 volcano holds, and then a real stopper move at 2/3 height. Shame we didn't see a top. It's always good to see.
Yeah, they were quite interesting looking moves to be had above there. But I guess that lower section, particularly around that 33, 34 plus, stopped so many climbers and tired out so many others. But yeah, we didn't see a top. Now, ideally in the final this evening, we'd like 1 top. But whether the route setters can write the script that perfectly, we'll have to see.
I'll have a word. Put in a suggestion.
See there the Olympia World emptying out now, people disappearing out into the sun here in Innsbruck. It's around a 3-hour 45 break until the final. We're kicking off at 7 p.m. Innsbruck time, and it's currently 3:15. So the athletes got plenty of time to cool down.
Yeah, it's been a good crowd, a very educated climbing crowd here in Innsbruck. A very climbing-centric city.
Certainly has been. Let's have a quick look at the final few highlights, but that's all from myself, Charlie Bosco, and Matt Groom. We will see you at 7 p.m. for the finals, and in the meantime, enjoy these slow motion highlight shots from a fantastic semi-final. See you at 7.